Hey guys, Crypto Sunday, and it's another slow week. I'm up £1,000. Sort of a lot happening, but not sort of moving the price at the moment. But yeah, let's have a look at some of the news. So it feels like the whole world is still watching Mr. Gensler. He has got his budget approved for the SEC at $2.4 billion. So hot off the heels of losing the Ripple case, he's sort of come out and said a good part of this needs to be put towards dealing with crypto. Not a massive amount, obviously, but I think he sort of said, getting on for 100 million to deal with sort of various crypto lawsuits, I guess. And yeah, $2.4 billion overall. So quite a big market when you compare it to the Commodity Futures and Trading Commission (CFTC). I think there's a fraction, sort of more like 100 million in total. So yeah, whether they have an awful lot more to do, I guess they do, but that seems a hell of a stark difference. So yeah, let's see what he does with all this new money. And this was always slated for July. We finally got the launch, or sort of staggered launch, I guess, of the Fed Now service. So this looks like it's sort of mainly between central banks and sort of institutions, but this allows transfers around the world of US dollars. They're sort of saying this is not really for retail, and they don't see any link here between a central bank digital currency, but that is sort of what the sort of general consensus is, that this is a sort of a testing ground and what is going to lead to a proper CBDC. So you can understand they're sort of trying to deny it, but yeah, it's I do sort of see this as possibly a bit of a threat to Ripple and sort of the various tokens that are going after this sort of thing, because Ripple's idea basically is transferring money between sort of big banks and institutions. So this coming out sort of does obviously it's not decentralized, but yeah, it does sort of make a bit of a knock in their use case, to be honest. But yeah, we'll have to see sort of what comes of this. It doesn't seem like, I was originally thinking if it was coming out to retail, this would allow people to be moving money out of their bank sort of Sunday morning, when they're closed, and you get a sort of potential bank run at very awkward times. But if the public aren't really going to be able to use it, then yeah, we'll see. It's probably not that bad for now, at least, but depends what they want to do with it. This was a bit of negative news, whether this is sort of to do with the BlackRock ETF that the NASDAQ are backing, but they've backed out of their plan to custody crypto, which sort of sounds like it's largely because of red tape from the SEC and sort of not wanting to go up against them and sort of, get involved in something that wouldn't look very good. Whether they'll sort of come back later on if they get some decent regulation out of Congress remains to be seen. But yeah, for now they've sort of given up, and understandably people are sort of saying, well, if NASDAQ themselves can't do it, then what hope of sort of bigger banks and smaller banks and sort of other institutions got of legally doing it? So yeah, bit of a blow, but I'm sure this is sort of this is just for PR purposes, while the SEC aren't very happy. And maybe if you do get some decent Congress overall regulation, then maybe they'll be back. That's the US, at least. It does seem the rest of the world couldn't care less. Indonesia have opened up a new crypto exchange, and this is government backed. So that's pretty good. Operates like the New York Stock Exchange, sort of NASDAQ, but it's government approved, maybe not government backed. And this has gone live on July the 17th. So I'm not sure how much overall volume they're going to add, but it's certainly a big country, and sort of country that I understand are concerned about their own sort of native currency. So, yeah, presume they'll get a reasonable amount of adoption, and sort of having a, not an FTX style exchange, presumably, if it's sort of government approved, and government will be sort of monitoring it quite well, I expect. Yeah, just one country that is sort of looking promising towards it. I do like that other countries are starting to sort of compete with each other and get a little concerned that the others are sort of getting ahead. The UK government were looking to sort of treat crypto essentially the same as they treat gambling, and the government have sort of rejected that idea, saying it would be sort of too restrictive and wouldn't really work. And Rishi especially has come out, and sort of various other members of the government has sort of said that the EU basically is getting ahead. Rishi has said that he wants to make the UK a crypto hub, and their sort of rule making and regulation is trailing behind rival jurisdictions such as the European Union. So we're sort of trying to put together our sort of overall regulation. The Financial Conduct Authority, I think, are involved in that, but it's all going a little bit slow. And to sort of think, 27 countries in the EU have all agreed on the MiCA regulations, and sort of as one country we can't get it done ourselves, obviously is a little bit slow, and we feel we're sort of getting left behind. The sort of potential was London could be sort of a financial hub for crypto, like it has been sort of over the years, with currencies and sort of currency swaps and all sorts of derivatives. But yeah, better get a move on. You did have a bit of sort of shots fired from the EU, from French officials boasting of their crypto-ready laws and sort of trying to draw, investment and companies around the world. So you've had the chair of the France Financial Markets Authority say that they are resolutely open to innovation, and sort of saying that some of our peers, notably the SEC, have launched litigation strategies which the successes aren't totally clear, but which seek to treat crypto as a traditional financial instrument, and it's a different choice to what we have made in Europe. Sort of basically a shot across the bows saying we're ahead, basically, which I thought was quite funny. They're sort of arguing amongst themselves now. But yeah, well done France, well done the EU. As I say, sort of to get 27 countries to all agree on something sort of so quickly, way ahead of the US and certainly ahead of the UK, has to be commended, even if it is only a sort of a revision one, and sort of more to be added. And speaking of Europe, starting to get more institutional money go in, it would seem. The ETPs and ETFs in Europe have hit an all-time Bitcoin equivalent high of 4,425 Bitcoin for the ProShares one. And sort of overall, they now have 196,000 Bitcoin in the ETPs overall. So it looks at when they were launched, it was 200,000, but then sort of took a sharp drop and has sort of been up and down since then. But certainly since June, since the BlackRock announcement, everyone's trying to sort of pile into anything they can that is Bitcoin related. So you're seeing miners go up, you're seeing Coinbase go up, MicroStrategy obviously sort of essentially an ETF, and the real ETFs, in Europe, in Canada, basically everywhere they can. The big banks and institutions sort of aren't limited to US only. They can invest in sort of anything they like, basically, if they're active, or if they're sort of not active and have an amount that they're allowed to sort of allocate to higher risk, then they're allowed to buy them. and they're going up. So you'd expect the US would sort of see this as money leaving the US and would want to sort of get a move on. So the consensus does seem to be that they're going to let the BlackRock ETF through, and sort of maybe one or two others, just to avoid sort of anti-competition accusations. So maybe the Fidelity, or whether it was, no, I don't think Fidelity did have an ETF, but Valkyrie and maybe ARK Invest or someone like that. You can't just have BlackRock. So yeah, keep an eye on the ETF news. I know they're saying, it could go on till February, but I think they're going to want to sort of maybe approve that sooner. And lastly, I don't really sort of look at technical analysis all that much, but people are sort of noticing that Bitcoin is sort of remaining fairly flat in US dollars at least, while the dollar index is coming down. So you'd normally expect Bitcoin to be sort of inversely correlated, if you like, to the dollar index. Sort of stocks normally are, and certainly high risk stocks are. But if you look in other currencies, Bitcoin has been sort of slightly trailing back. So maybe the dollar going down has just sort of made it steady in the US dollar rather than going down. This does seem like a sort of a slight pullback after a sort of big jump up. We had a bottom out at $25,000, and it's sort of hovering around 30, 31, and a sort of drop back to the high 29s. Maybe it goes a little further, and then who knows, if we do get an ETF approval, then that would be presumably the next catalyst. So yeah, interesting sort of to point out Bitcoin in different currencies at least. So just having a look at the coins for the week. You've had Bitcoin sort of pretty much flat, 0.6% up for the week. Ethereum down 1%. Still keeping my eye on the Bitcoin Ethereum, or Ethereum to Bitcoin ratio at the moment. I've sort of been considering for sort of months now switch of probably this odd 0.6 Bitcoin into ETH. Sort of hopefully would give me around another 10 ETH. And yeah, sort of haven't pulled the trigger yet, but it does seem to be in a gigantic narrowing wedge pattern. And yeah, the thinking is that would sort of break to the upside, and Ethereum would be outperforming Bitcoin in the bull market. So yeah, at some point, I guess I probably should be doing that. I'm just getting a little bit greedy, I guess. What else we got? Solana down 9% for the week. Obviously, that did have a fairly big run up, and was sort of running up while the market was coming down. So yeah, not a huge surprise that's come slightly down. Chainlink up 19%. That's performer of the week. This is largely, it seems, them opening up their protocol to other blockchains, Polygon and Ethereum, and sort of various major projects. Hopefully sort of going to get some real adoption from that, and it's not just a pump up in the price. XRP up 5%, quite good, sort of hovering around where it rocketed up to after the court case news. Cardano absolutely flat. Polygon down for just over 3%. Audius down 2.3%. Quant up 5%. Power Ledger up 1.8%. Gala token up 5.8%. Basic Attention token 2.2%. And VeChain 1.5%. Internet Computer up 5%. So sort of a little bit of green spread across the board in the altcoins. I am sort of also keeping my eye on. I've got about sort of maybe £2,000 to add in cash at least, and I'm sort of considering putting that across the smaller caps, sort of Internet Computer, VeChain, Power Ledger, and Quant, or possibly Gala. I'm not sure. yeah, I need to figure out sort of where to spread that. Also considering the Binance leverage tokens, I know they're sort of extremely risky, but yeah, sort of thinking if we're going to end up in a sort of long-term bull market, I know they'll be sort of very, very volatile, and maybe, you know, if it's a 3x bull token, you might get sort of 2x or even worse, you know, return over the longer term with sort of decay, with it being so volatile. But I'm kind of sort of thinking maybe take a bit of a gamble with them, sort of maybe with some of the ETF money from the stock side. So yeah, I don't know, maybe a small bet, but we'll see. So yeah, leave your thoughts in the comments below and like and subscribe. See you soon.